What you see behind me here is the Patina Collective, just outside of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm here for a visit to check out this insane collection of truly unique tuner specials and custom builds of older Mercedes-Benz models from the 70s, 60s, and 80s. A lot of pre-merger AMG stuff is here, and it is truly a mind-blowing assortment of Mercedes-Benz cars that you won't see anywhere else. So follow along with me as we go through a quick tour of what's on display here at the Patina Collective, and hope you enjoy. This is the view you have when you first walk into the Patina Collective and you just start looking at the insanely diverse collection of cars thrown together from all over the world, from different builders that put things together with Mercedes-Benz. For example, look at this. This was built from a company called BB. You can see the badge there on the side. But this is a power retractable hardtop 500 SEC. Only 17 believed to have been built, with this fully custom construction, of course, and interior. Look at this with the rainbow trim and just cloth blue. But then you come back here to the convertible and you can see this entire assembly here for what is essentially the C-pillar lifts up, and then this entire roof panel slides forward as it makes its way to the A-pillar and windshield frame. Just crazy. There's actually a little video up there where they show it being demonstrated, but it's insane. I mean, where else are you gonna see this? I think they're claiming there's only 3 of these left in existence because these things just have such little documentation and tracing to them back when they were built in the pre-AMG era, where Mercedes, well, AMG rather, and Mercedes were just tuning so many different things. Here, look, you can see the top operating there in this video. Crazy. But moving on, you have other wild stuff like this, the 1000 SEL. There were several examples of a 1000 SEL built, which was, from what I understand, primarily just bragging rights behind the badge. You know, you didn't want to have a 500 or 600, you wanted to have a 1000. Now look at this fully custom interior and all this gold trim pieces and captain's chair luxury like you'd see today in a modern Rolls Royce or something, with all sorts of toys and trays and TV screens and audio, video control, and just like equally insane up front with gold plating instead of wood trim everywhere. Custom wheels and wide bodies and other adornments on the outside of the car to give it a truly distinct look. But one that immediately catches your eye is this here, this pickup SEC conversion. If you ever wondered what an El Camino merged with a Mercedes-Benz S-Class might look like, here's your answer. With AMG monoblock wheels and AMG kit on it. And then you can see the tonneau cover here covering the bed. Just so crazy. Like, where and when and why did this happen? Who really knows? But God, it's so cool. And you can see around the side here, it's got 3 doors. 2 doors up front, of course, and then this 3rd door here, which I think we can open. You see it's got the spare tire and the jack kit and everything in there, sort of in the front area of this covered pickup bed for a 3-door Mercedes SEL pickup. Just wild. And then we just have a number of other custom wide bodies and Konig Specials here. You can see one of my favorites and most recognizable examples are these Konig Special SECs, especially this yellow one here. I mean, look at how crazy this is. The KS badge, in this case, replacing the 3-pointed star. But just, you know, dramatic wide body with like all these different strakes and pieces of the rear fender working their way up towards sort of like this ducktail spoiler design with another crazy wing sitting on top of the trunk. Quad exhaust, just so wild. And they have the Konig branding stamped or embossed into the rear and the front bumper. And this particular spec with matching yellow leather interior and yellow panels and yellow plastic and such everywhere, yellow gear shifter, yellow steering wheel. It's all yellow. Wild. And this first Konig Special we walked by here is an SEC convertible, even crazier, with the same aero and body kit treatment on it, looking even more ridiculous. But there's just so many wild examples here. This is a Lorenzer SLC of some sort, another 500 SEC build of some kind. A lot of these coming from Japan and then also Germany. And then of course some Middle East too, like the 1000 SEL. But this here is a 500 SEL Estate by SGS. A full estate version of the S-Class, which of course Mercedes has commissioned some special models like this for certain collectors in the Sultan of Brunei, but never had a full-size wagon out of the factory. So there's a imagining of what it could look like. Another SGS build of an SEC convertible there. And another Konig Special SEC behind that in red. Not with a red interior though, more traditional black, but still a crazy looking body kit. Moving over here, ABC exclusive 300 CE wide body. Again, looking very similar in its flair to the Konig Specials, and also some of what Gemballa was doing in period with Porsche and other brands, with these massive strakes that just kind of cut into both the door and the rear fender. And I mean, just look how wide that is. Look where the roof line actually goes, and then compared to the fender hiding those massive rear wheels, it's just crazy. Just love the uniqueness and custom nature of all of these. It's so crazy to see. We've got some R129 SLs of certain varieties over here. We have a black Rentec one there. We've got this SL600 by Strosik Design. Never heard of that one or that builder, but obviously a very custom front end looking, grill aside, and not really looking anything like the standard R129s did. And a very unique shade of like deep teal here. Another yellow 600 SL there by some other builder I'm not familiar with. This one is really sharp. So 500 SL, the purple Picasso from Designo at the time. Obviously like a whole kit on it as well. But the Picasso part speaking to the interior. Purple leather with these Picasso seat inserts all the way through the bottom and the headrest all around. And some more traditional wood treatment and such, but the leather obviously continuing to the dash and the steering wheel in this purple shade just looks crazy. Even the roll bar and everything by the rear convertible top is the same, with the dramatic wide body kit finishing it off. That's really sharp. 500E from Brabus, with the unique colorway on the lower half of the vehicle and the wheels. And then looks like a 190E Konig Special. So usually a lot of this, the coupes with the Konig Special, but in this case you can see applied to the sedan what happens to the rear door when it incorporates that crazy Konig Special wide body look. It just cuts in to the entire rear rear segment of that door, and you still get to put your door handle in the same spot more or less before that wide body kicks in. But that's crazy. And you can see it kind of tapering there as it makes its way to the taillights. Ducktail spoiler. Wild. And then a 190E DTM reimagining or tribute car from their success in the 90s DTM series when they were running their small class of vehicles here before the C-Class. They ran the 190E. So that's pretty cool to see that. Oh, look at this. I missed the fact that this R129 here also has yellow leather interior and yellow wood. Look at that wood. It's like golden wood trim, golden stained wood in here, matching the leather. Just wild. I mean, you could spend hours looking at each of these. I'll try to go somewhat quickly to get just the highlights here, but we can see more Konig Specials lurking here. Another SEC, a 190E of some sort. And Nissan Safari. How about that, huh? Known as the Patrol in the Middle East and other markets, but an early version of the Nissan Safari there. Anyway, moving on. I'm not allowed to film everything here. We can take a look at some of the cars in this row. We have an S600 Coupe, the V12, and convertible 190E here. That's pretty unusual. More W124 stuff here with this coupe. SLC of some sort. R129. This one, look at the interior on this one. It's like a mixture of green shades. Green and seafoam green through the centers. And the carpets as well, all green. I assume some sort of Designo leather package at the time for this one. Another W124 there. Look at this one. Green shaded pattern of some sort on the leather throughout. This also W124 looks to be a 500E of some sort, or maybe an E60 AMG. Pretty cool. Moving along, we got some more customized 190Es and SLs, and I see a W210 back there. SEC or SELs, excuse me, the big body S-Class from the period. And then we get to some of these crazy machines here, the Gullwing SECs. I think some of these were badged as a 1000 SEC as well, just for the bragging rights. But look at this. SGS, the builder of these. Again, fully custom interior. Look at this like shimmering gold leather and piping along the seats. Just crazy. And you see, you know, you look up and you have your gull wings with the standard door panel more or less from the SCC until you get your way towards the roof construction. And then it gets fully custom. So cool. Some sort of replica here of a 190E Turbo 2 homologation special. Very cool to see that. And another gull wing there. And then AMG Hammer sedan. Of course, also a wagon and a coupe. I think the coupe is my favorite of the Hammer variants from the period. But super low production on these, super valuable today. Love the Hammers, so much attitude. Very cool. Moving over into the second half, this is super cool. Basically, a wrap inspired to be a support van for one of the racing series at the time. This is a Mercedes-Benz 100D van with a diesel engine up here in the front, just kind of in between the two front occupants. But you can see decked out to look like an in-period support van for Mercedes racing series of who knows what it may have been, but really cool. Always love to see that. And you got the AMG monoblocks sort of style of wheels on the van. That's super cool. Then moving in here, we have some racing inspired goodies here from Mercedes-Benz. A C43 AMG here, in this case turned into a DTM tribute from when they were running C-classes in the DTM series at that time. There's some video of it there, the actual cars, but this one is a tribute. Next to, of course, a replica of one of the legends, the Red Pig SEL that went racing in touring cars and rallying at the time. Of course, you know, again, a replica, but looking pretty authentic. Always love to see these with their very distinctive front end lighting treatment and bumper deletes and everything, while still retaining the signature massive grille. Then we have some sort of touring car build here of an SLC from the 70s. And then also a inspired replica of a 300E from touring car racing at the time, with the AMG look to the wheels and front end, badging, graphics, all the good stuff. Moving along, this is interesting here. 450 SEL 6.9 AMG, believed to be one of the first AMGs ever constructed in collaboration with Mercedes-Benz, of course, before they were embedded with the brand like they are today. They were standalone, the pre-merger AMG cars, as people call them. So cool to see that, a very early iteration of the, S-Class AMG, basically. And then this is very interesting and also news to me. Something new I learned here at the Patina Collective is that AMG, again, back when they were standalone, they didn't just work on Mercedes-Benz. They would take contracts from other brands if they, got involved with them or if something came up. And in this case, it did with Mitsubishi, because this is a Debonair 5 by AMG with AMG body kits and AMG wheels, AMG steering wheel, and other AMG styling elements. This was a super rare variant that they could offer in Japan. And otherwise, just a big body Mitsubishi sedan with its, I think, standard interior. But there you see the AMG wheel, right-hand drive, of course. But it's just so weird. Look at just all the touches they made. They were pretty proud of it. I mean, look at that. They put the big AMG badge right there on the fender above the rear wheel. They have some little wing at the back. Slight wide body bumper kit or body kits with the bumpers and everything. And then here, MMC, Mitsubishi Motor Company. They didn't even include their standard badge on the car. They have this hood ornament here for the V, Debonair 5, but no Mitsubishi badge anywhere. Very interesting. Apparently they also did this with some of the later Galant VR4 models that were quote-unquote tuned by AMG. But those were a little bit more subtle, looking like the standard Galant VR4, but this doesn't really look much like the standard Debonair, so that's pretty wild to see. We've got a Stratton wide-body 500 SEC here. Pretty cool. There's an E36 wagon with a wild interior I'll take a look at in a minute, but here, some other very cool ones. Big SEC here, of course, with an AMG kit. And then these are the coupes, I think S600s, but then also this one here, S72 wide body. This one, though, the purple, I don't know how well it shows up in the camera, but it's like a deep purple paint with matching wheels, AMG wheels. And then another one of these Designo Picasso interiors, in this case like a magenta or a fuchsia color. But of course, again, you see the Picasso treatment on the leather inserts of the seat and the headrest, both front and rear. Just wild. And again, same matching color on the wheel and the carpets and the headliner and the sun visors and everything. It's just crazy. Standard brown wood, but otherwise insane interior. And then here the 7.2 liter V12 powered S72 AMG coupe, and very wide rear fenders there. Very cool. And then another S600 coupe here in red with some Designo treatments from Mercedes-Benz. And then we'll flip over here for some interesting stuff. So a G32 G cab from Japan. At least I think this one was from Japan, but obviously they never made a true AMG variant of the G cab. Here's a commissioned build of just that. Pretty crazy. And then moving over here, SL73 AMG, the top 7.3 M120 V12 engine stuffed into the R129 chassis. This particular example exposed here with the hood off, so you can see first and foremost how they crammed that engine in there, but then also you'll notice something interesting on the engine plaque there, that this one was built specifically for the royal family of Brunei. In other words, this was one of the Sultan of Brunei's toys that he commissioned from the brands that were making all sorts of crazy creations for him in that period. And this is one of them. Here obtained from the Patina Collective group. And then we have an E60 AMG, basically, iterative clone of the 500E, more or less, but much rarer. And then again, here's that E36 Designo wagon from 1993, 3.6 liter engine, hence the name, and pretty wild teal or turquoise interior throughout, the custom leather treatment from Designo. But man, these are just so wild. There's other interesting things here that are lurking in the background. We have a G43 prototype there from before they came out with the G55 AMG. There was the G43 prototype that AMG was working on for Mercedes, and an original R63 AMG. Always cool to see one of those, the rare AMG wagon, or minivans, I should say. But man, there's just, as you can see, there's just so much here that gets stored, obtained, moved around, serviced. Can't film it all for you, but it is just breathtaking. If you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, highly recommend checking these out, because where else are you going to see these wild creations? Well, I hope you enjoyed that video tour of the Patina Collective. This was a bucket list visit for me, and it did not disappoint. If you're ever out here, definitely check it out. If you're into German cars like I am, and specifically rare performance and tuned examples that were built throughout the years for reasons that didn't always make sense, and just odd creations and quirky stuff, there is so much here to see. And especially wanted to shout out Victor from the Patina Collective, who gave me a tour of all these cars that I've shown you today, in addition to their private collection of all the other cars in the background here that I can't show on video, but it was truly incredible to check them out, get up close to them, open the doors, see what was going on with these builds, who was making them. It's just a wild story and an insane collection that will be breathtaking for any fan of Mercedes-Benz and Brabus and AMG in the lot. So anyway, hope you enjoyed, and like and subscribe to the channel for more content. Comment, let me know your thoughts, what you want to see more or less of, and I'll see you in the next video.